that are regarding interest, riba, and Islamic finances, you will find a variety of answers with in-depth support from both Hadith, Quran, and a lot of Muslim scholars who have finance and background in finance will be giving fatwas and various opinions and discussions on this. So, inshallah, our goal is to educate you today, and you should have enough basic education to make some of the decisions that you will incur upon your financial decision in your lifeline. And today, this is one of those sessions. So, as we begin, we can show you some of our contents. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys, give me 1 second.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Will you be sharing the slides as well when it's finished?
Yeah, we can definitely share our slides.
That'd be grateful. Thank you.
So today we'll have our contents. What is halal income? What is defined as halal income? The criteria of halal income will be delivered by Sister Faiza. Different types of income and benefits of halal income, I believe, will be delivered by either me or Mohsin. And we also have different types of forbidden income in today's society, and riba interest, and how to add barakah in your wealth. So we have a packed lecture today. So yeah, tune into us. We'll let Sister Faiza take the lead.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. So what is halal income? Firstly, we know that by halal it means lawful, something that is lawful, and that is commodities or services that are permitted by Allah. And so halal is anything that is referred to any goods and services that we use and take benefit from. Just like that, our income is what we take benefit from, and we have to ensure that it is halal and comes from lawful sources and falls under the Sharia. So as Muslims, we have to make sure that whatever way that we earn our income, it is approved by Allah, and that was taught to us by our messenger, peace be upon him. And so Prophet ﷺ, he said that it is obligatory for every Muslim to seek what is halal. He also said that it is obligatory to earn halal after other obligatory observations that are prayers and etc. So by considering these sayings by our Prophet, we can tell that whenever a Muslim intends to adopt a profession, or we start out a business, or we seek an employment, we must seriously think about whether it's lawful or not, and that we are abstaining from all ways that have been prohibited or forbidden in Islam, such as, taking interest or accepting bribes for any sort of favors, right? Gambling, lottery, theft, robbery also fall under this. And we might not do these things directly. However, we could do them indirectly and not realize it. So that's why we have to really think about whatever job we get ourselves into is proper and it follows the commands of Allah. And then some of the things that we can consider when it comes to getting a job or doing your business are that, you're not going out of your moral boundaries. You're a trustworthy individual. You're not exploiting people, and that you're truthful about whatever services that you provide or products that you sell, and that you're not deceiving people in any way or causing any corruption, or that you're not making it hard for your customers. Furthermore, one thing that's really important is that you're paying your taxes and your charity, because when you get your income, the less privileged have a right in our income, so we must pay those back who are poor in our community. Also, another thing is that Prophet ﷺ, he was asked about the best job, and he replied saying that a job that is done by own hands and every decent trade. So by this was interpreted by Al-Minawi that decent means that a job that is acceptable in Islam and that will be rewarded by Allah. And it also has to be in line with the teaching of Islam. It must not be corrupt in any way. It must not involve any cheating or betrayal, and it should aim to deliver benefit to people by providing their needs in a legal way. Yeah, I can move on. All right, so how do you earn halal? You should make sure that you're researching your job and your income, making sure that you know what industry you're working in and what people you're going to get involved with. Secondly, you must be truthful about your dealings, right? And you must be truthful about your products that you're selling. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was known as al-Sadiq al-Amin, which means truthful. And he was asked about the best kind of earning, as I just said, that the best earning is which a man works with his hands, and it's honest trading. So those who take bribes and those who give bribes are cursed by Allah. Lastly, to not be corrupt and unjust. Instead, you should sell something as if you're selling to your own brother. So, for this, Prophet ﷺ said, "None of you will believe until you love for your brother what you love for yourself." So these are some of the things that we can keep in mind to, make sure that we're on the right path and making sure that we're not committing any sort of act that is against our deen.
A great job. I just want to make a quick point is that when I say sell something, you are always selling something in today's industry, whether it's selling yourself, whether it's selling your work, right? Whether it's selling the product or a service you're doing. So sell it to as someone you're selling to your own brother, your own family, your own sister, right? With very truthful and honest dealings. The Prophet Muhammad SAW was praised for his business dealings because he was so truthful and honest, right? So it's almost like if you are cheating someone, you should be God conscious and you should know exactly that the money that you earn from cheating someone or selling someone falsely, or if you're corrupt and unjust with them, it's going to come back to you. All right, different types of income.
Assalamu alaikum. So I'll take this slide, inshallah. So assalamu alaikum, everybody. This is Mahsen Hashmi. Now I'll be talking about the common types of income that people earn. So we have people, the usual ways of earning money is through wages. So there's hourly wages, the regular 9-to-5 jobs. People get paid by the hour. Then there's salary, salary income. There's commission through sales. People who do sales, they get commission based on their sales. There's investments, stock marketing, real estate. That's one way people make money. There's gifts, government payment, benefits, and last but not least, interest, which we'll get into in the further slides. What is it? What is it about? What is interest, and is it allowed? So the benefits of earning halal, there are many benefits, but the most important ones is the acceptance of supplications and acts of worship. Ultimately, when Allah accepts your supplications and your acts of worship, that means Allah is pleased with you. So you attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah raises your status and ranking. So there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He said that the person who seeks his livelihood from legal sources so that he could keep himself, his children, and family from begging people, he will be raised on the day of judgment with the prophets and highly truthful people. Right. So, which means that through earning halal income, if you go out of your way, because there's many ways to make haram money, and there's a lot of easy ways to make haram money. But if one individual goes out of the way to earn halal, then Allah raises his status and ranking. Next slide. So this is a very beautiful hadith that one should we should all remember when it comes to earning or getting a job. If we all keep this in mind, then this is just like a a guidance for everybody. So Prophet said in hadith in Sahih Muslim, "O people, Allah is pure and He accepts only what is pure. Allah has commanded the believers as He commanded His messengers. Allah said, O you messengers, eat from good things and do righteous good deeds, for I am aware of what you do. And Allah said, O you believe, eat from good things that we have provided for you." And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned a man who traveled far, becoming disabled and dusty, and he raises his hands to the sky, saying, O Lord, while his food is unlawful, his drink is unlawful, his clothing is unlawful, and he is nourished by the unlawful. So how can he be answered? So the Prophet ﷺ describes a man who comes from far away, he travels from far away, his clothes are all stained, they're all dirty, and he raises his hands towards the sky, the heavens, and he asks Allah, he's like, Ya Allah, O Lord, but his money is unlawful, his food is unlawful, his drink is unlawful, everything about it is unlawful. So the Prophet ﷺ, questions. He poses a question: how in the world can his prayer, can his dua ever be answered? Right. So just proving the point that if your income is haram, if you earn income or if you earn money through haram means, then everything else that you purchase is going to be haram as well. The food that you purchase, the drink that you purchase, everything is through haram means. So, and then then you ask yourself that why is Allah not answering my prayers? Why is He not answering my du'as? So one of the main reasons why Allah does not answer someone's du'as is you got to ask yourself: am I the income, the money that I'm earning? Am I earning it through halal means? All right, next slide.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. Yes, this is me. So I'll be talking about the types of forbidden income in today's society. Okay, so number one is riba, usury. So there are 6, as you can see here. So there's riba, usury, bribery, profiteering and defrauding, drug dealing and trade of alcoholic drinks, gambling, and number 6 is magic and fortune telling. So riba or usury alludes to unjustifiable exploitive interaction made in trade. There are 2 common illustrations of riba. Number 1 is earning money through a reimbursement or the trade of unequal commodities. Riba is considered taboo in Islamic law because one takes riba because he fears losing his riches and starts hoarding riches. Number 2 is bribery. So bribery is persuading someone to act in one's favor illegally. So Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, the worst unlawful earning is the income of a governor gains through bribery. So when few individuals bribe to pick up what they need effortlessly, the others who dodge giving bribes for any reason will confront numerous challenges to get what they are entitled to. So moreover, the bribe collectors will not fulfill what they are required to do by law unless they are bribed. So on the off chance that bribery spreads among individuals, particularly government authorities in a society, it'll certainly lead to an increment of an increase in wealth through illegal means. Number 3 is profiteering and defrauding. So one of the incredible sins in Islam is cheating in offering things, which might be of 2 sorts. Offering something at a better cost than its genuine value, especially when there is a deficiency of that item within the showcase. Conjointly offering brief measures to buyers. So a lot of times in the market, even at the time of Prophet ﷺ, some of the people before Islam, they used to bargain and used to sell things, even though they were deficient in something, they used to sell things at a higher price. So the misfortune of open belief and money-related increase are among the foremost obliterating forms of sin. So there are 2 other illustrations for offering short measures. So one of the foremost common of which happens in workplaces when representatives are not upright, sufficient to fulfill their work commitments and duties. So the wage they win is haram. So pretty much we see that in today's society when people go to work, they're not really fulfilling their duties and they're still getting their wages, right? So that's also a form of profiteering and defrauding. Number 4 is drug dealing and the trade of alcoholic drinks. So any pay one picks up through the part she or he has in creating, dispersing, or expending alcoholic refreshments conjointly medicated is considered haram. Okay, and in the Quran it says, they ask you about wine and gambling. Say, in them is a great sin, and yet some benefit for people, but their sin is greater than their benefit. So this is in chapter 2, verse 219. So number 5 is gambling. So gambling is money gained through betting. So based on the previous verse, the cash one gains through betting is haram too. That is since Islam profoundly prescribes winning the official occupations and empowers difficult work and striving to win cash instead of getting to be affluent or losing all one's cash overnight. So Islam really encourages you to actually work for the money that you earn rather than actually gamble and, because there's either a gain in it or you lose everything, through gambling. And number 6 is magic and fortune telling. So enchantment and fortune telling are accepted to be damaging within the Islamic lessons, since according to the Quran says in chapter 27, verse 47, your omen is with Allah. So we ought to not put belief in anybody but Him. Islam considers enchantment an act of find, an act of disbelief, and an incredible sin which must be maintained at a strategic distance from. Okay, next slide.
All right, before we begin with this, does anyone else have any questions, concerns, or any comments they want to make during this presentation?
Hi, Assalamualaikum. I have a question.
Waalaikumsalam.
So Riba refers to growth in access and finance. Would that be considered stocks as well? Like stocks is around too, right?
Yeah, that is a big topic right there.
Yeah.
I will give you some of my feedback, but I don't want you to take it as I want you to take it as a grain of salt. So with stocks, there's different opinions, and one of the big opinions is that you got to know which company you're dealing with. If you are dealing with bank stocks, you kind of automatically know that banks' main income comes from interest. Regardless what anyone says that they have IT, they have diverse portfolios, whatever they have, but their main income comes from interest. It comes from interest. Whatever profits you make off banks, you are initially making it with interest-based payments. On the other side, if let's say you decide to buy stocks for a company, I don't know, it could be a charitable organization, they have stocks, right? How do you determine they're not dealing with interest-based payments? It's very hard. It's extremely hard, actually. There's a lot of research required. So I would say for stocks, there's no definite answer if it's halal or haram, but there needs to be done a sufficient amount of research for you to say that, I have faith and conviction in this stock, and I would like to buy it, inshallah. But staying with crypto and stocks, there is a difference of opinions, and there's a lot of sheikhs and scholars that go dive deep into this.
For sure, I'll definitely look that up. Thank you so much.
Hey, assalamualaikum. Can I say something?
For sure, go ahead.
Hey, assalamualaikum everyone. Sorry for joining late. And I just wanted to add something in terms of like the whole question about stocks. Like Brother Essen said, it is a very complex topic, and some of the things that are taken, because I looked at it not too long ago, and I do follow some Islamic financial personnels, and one thing that they do look for is like the debt ratio, because because basically, just like Brother Essen said, that if a company, like regardless of them not doing anything haram in terms of what they're selling, but if a lot of their income is going towards debt, which has interest in it as well, they're paying a lot of interest as well. And I think they have, like, the scholars have set some sort of like a limit or like a ratio, like only this much can be that. But that's also something that you have to look into. And I'd be happy to. I'm not sure who asked the question, but I'll be happy to share some Islamic financial planners or whatnot who have a more that who have a more a better
Hey guys,
understanding in it.
also there's sorry to interrupt. There's also a app called Wahid.
Sorry, what's the app name? I didn't catch that.
Sorry, brother, can you repeat that app as well?
Assalamu alaikum. Also, to add on to
Brother Wasi, I think that you are having technical issues. No one can hear you. And I think he said Zahir, if I'm not mistaken. But
Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
The app's name is Wahid. The name of the app is called Wahid.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, there's sorry. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. Yeah, there's an app called Wahid, right? And basically, it's like a quest trade. I don't know if you guys invest in stocks and stuff, but it's like a quest trade, and it's basically like a halal version of it, where they do the research on your part, right? So they invest in only halal companies, and in fact, they also have an index fund of just halal companies, meaning like they're not they don't deal with like interest, right? And they don't invest in alcohol or anything that's forbidden in Islam. So check it out. It was actually discovered this through a podcast, and they're based in the States and a lot of other Muslim countries. But yeah, check it out. It's called Wahid. The stock itself, it's called Wahid.
And sorry guys, I also shared like the link to that the financial guy that I was talking about. He makes TikToks, to be honest, but like he's a local realtor in the GTA, and he always, like, he talks about like what makes things like Sharia compliant and whatnot. So if you want to check out his feed as well.
Okay, cool. No, inshallah, we will do. Brother Sean, I would still recommend that as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told all of us to do our own research, to do our own work. Get the aid of the apps, get the aid of the scholars, get the aid of everyone around you to mashwara. And inshallah, take the decision based on your own intuition and with the proper knowledge. And you can go it out. But stocks is a big navigating pathway. So
For sure, yeah.
I would exercise caution around that. Same with crypto space as well. I don't have any knowledge. This is why I'm trying to give you I gave you an answer that you can take a grain of salt on that. So do not take my definitive reasoning on that.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys.
But yeah, I'll continue with the presentation, and then I'll talk about riba. Riba itself, on its base foundation, refers to the growth, increase, or excess, right? So in finance, it refers to as interest paid on loans. And the reason, the word excess is actually applies to it because you pay a loan and now they're asking excess money instead of the loans, right? This happens, this whole society, Western society is based on actually interest. It runs on interest. You can see it all around you, from your phones, where they offer monthly payment plans, all the way up to cars, houses, all these consumer things. They're all offering on interest based on monthly payments. And Allah has strictly warned against riba and interest. And the following verses show its legality. Allah has allowed trade and has forbidden riba. So Surah Al-Baqarah 275. You who believe, do not consume riba doubled and redoubled, Be mindful of God so that you may prosper. Have taqwa. Be conscious of God. And do not go near riba so that you may prosper. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can add barakah to your wealth. And who you believe, do not eat up amounts acquired through riba, doubled and multiplied. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that you may be successful. Right? There's another translation of the same verse. It's saying that fear Allah so that you may be successful. If you're looking for a formula for success, it is said in one line, do not eat the amounts of riba, stay away from interest as much as possible, and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that you may be successful. There are two types of riba. Number one, we all know, is loan contract riba, which is very popular today. Any amount over the original loan charged by the lender. And what do we see in society today? You want to take out a car? Sure, go ahead, go finance the car. They'll give you a loan of 15,000, 20,000, and then they say 6% interest. So over 5 years, you're paying about, I don't know, like about 5 to 10 grand extra just because you wanted that nice car, right? Look at the house, right? House prices are enormously high with high amount of interest rates, just so the system can keep you in that loop. And if you want to apply it into a greater stage, you look at third world countries. Third world countries are in an enormous amount of debt and interest. Why? Because the powerful countries want to keep it that way. They want to lend out the money to you, $5 billion, $6 billion, but they want to add interest to you. So by the time they pay back, they're paying back double and triple the amount. And this is why riba is haram in our society, because it destroys families, it destroys individuals, and it makes the wealthy people get richer and the poor people even less richer, and keeps them poor, keeps them in the poverty cycle. A lot of people will actually praise riba, and this capitalist society will say, well, we have this and you have all these accessible to these resources and these luxury and lavish lifestyles. But if you ask a truthful economist, sociologist, any scholar, in any religious capacity, they'll say it's socially destructive. It gives a door to a huge amount of social inequalities. And this is why I mention it again, that it keeps the poor people poor and the rich people rich. How? Let's discuss that. When you are taking a loan from someone, they will ask you, when you ask a loan for someone, they will ask you to pay more amount. So if you have taken a loan of $10, right? This happens actually in third world countries, which is something called brick jobs. You see in third world countries, there's a lot of factories that help give out loans to poor people to fulfill their needs, such as buying land, buying properties, getting their daughters or their sons married. And whenever a person takes a loan from these rich people, they're automatically entered into a contract where the lender has an interest component to it. And then for generations, they are in this continual loop where they're just paying the interest amount. Their loan is paid off. Their loan is, subhanAllah, paid off. But it is the loan, it is the interest amount that they keep on replenishing, right? Meanwhile, the rich build the wealth using primarily the funds that they had accumulated just because of interest accrual, right? So this is how they keep us in locks. Poor people borrow money from the rich and elite, charging them high interest, and in return, the poor people are continuing to pay them even though their loan is paid off, resulting in a never-ending cycle. Again, due to the capitalist society, this is why the wealthy people get richer and richer, because they perpetually save money and they don't spend it in the economy to support the growth, right? But how do people that have no savings, how do people who are continually under loans, they save money? This is what we see in Toronto, right? House prices have increased. Consumer prices have gone up. A lot of people have their cars on monthly payments. So if you don't have any savings, how do you increase your economy? Right? This is why there's a negative impact on job creation and the wages on the rest of the population, right? And then look at corporations. They borrow money. In COVID, so many corporations borrowed money just to grow their business, expecting the economic conditions to remain positive. But what happens when that isn't the case? There's not enough revenues to increase to pay off such debts, right? And then what happens? It obviously leads to employee downsizing, layoffs, or they make excuses that they got to reduce the wage to offset the interest increase payments from current and future debt obligations. I want to ask everyone: does anyone have an example of this, of corporation borrowing money and not fulfilling their economic positive?
Hey, brother, could you just elaborate on what you mean by that, like the economic thing that you were talking about?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll give you the best example. Look at airlines. During COVID, airlines went down, significantly down. Air Canada was thriving industry before COVID, and during the COVID, they were brought down all the way, and they had no customers, no nothing, right? What did the first thing they do? They got a government loan, right? As soon as they got a government loan, they predicted that their economic conditions will get positive. They will get business again, they will get positive revenue again, and they will start profiting. What happened right after they got the loan? They laid off a lot of people without pay, right? They did not increase their jobs at all, and their flights were still grounded. So they got the pay, they got the loan, and right after the loan, which they were supposed to use to retain their staff, and they were supposed to increase their profits and their revenue, they did do nothing of that, and resulting in the higher executives getting paid off and getting the big bonuses.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, that being said, I think that just like Air Canada, I wouldn't be able to really name any specific company, but many company just from like what I've heard in the past or like read in the past. I
Mhm.
have like the attention span of a squirrel, so I can't really remember things that well. But I do know that like while a lot of people were being laid off and a lot of companies were taking these government incentives, I do recall seeing lots of articles about how a lot of these CEOs and executives were getting like record breaking bonuses those years as
Hmm.
well. So it was evident that the loans that they acquired to I'm sorry, to essentially keep people on board, they did not actually use that, and they used it to basically they cut off cost, as in cut off labor, and they used that as a false sense of profit for their people, and they just they capitalized on it, and they all profited from it, like the executives, yet all the smaller people in the businesses, they all suffered, and a lot of people lost their homes, a lot of people's families fell apart, yet once again the executives, they took home even bigger bonuses than they've ever done before.
Mm-hmm. And the reason it relates to interest is because if corporation borrowed $1 billion, or we're just talking numbers, but if they borrowed $1 million and they have to pay back the government $1.5 million, and using that $1 million they weren't able to get the profits and the revenue they predicted, what happens then? Right? They're still out 500 grand. That's when the layoffs happens. That's when the wage starts decreasing. That's when they're like, okay, well, we got to think of ways to cut off people, and the first ones are always the poor people, the people in their entry level jobs, right? And when I say poor in the Western society, poor can mean anything from like the middle to even high class people, right? There's actually suicides among executives because during, like, let's say the 2008 Wall Street crash, during the stock market crash, a lot of people did not have things paid off. They were on monthly payments. So when your income stops coming in, now you have monthly payments on items like your house, your car, your other consumer, your lifestyle. They're all on interest-based monthly payments. So if you can't supply that, you lose the situation, right? Banks come and foreclose your homes. So if you guys see, it's a whole loop, and the riba destroys the whole society.
Uh, Brother, I also want to add something about that. Because so like I used to be in car sales, as many of you know, and I would see that a lot of newcomers, specifically in Canada, like not to like pick on anyone, but like a lot of these students that were coming here, they discovered financing, and I would see in front of my eyes that these kids, they did not have the financial knowledge, and not many people knew. And the salespeople that they would go to, obviously, a deal is a deal for them. They
Mm-hmm.
would be putting themselves in such like crazy cycles of debt, like you could even call it death even to a point. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you buy a car and then, like, a week later they'll trade it in for another car, and a bunch of negative equity just being rolled into the car, and suddenly, they have like a $20,000 car and they have like $40,000 on it. And then aside from that, now all of their paychecks going towards their car payment, so they're racking up their credit card bills instead. And I have a strong feeling that, God forbid, but a lot of people, like in like the youth, they're gonna be going towards like bankruptcy at the rate that
Mm-hmm.
every single person has a credit card. And people are, and how how the society is right now. If you don't have a good credit score, you don't have anything. So people are
Mm-hmm.
working on building credit scores instead of really working on building, like, actual like savings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no one talks about saving anymore. They all talk about good credit score. Oh, I have this big of a credit card. I have this big of a credit card or a line of credit. But how much do you really have saved? Because that's not your money. And the way that the system's been, or like the system has become, people start thinking that having a big credit card means that you have buying power, which is not, in my opinion, it's not true at all, because you
Mm-hmm.
don't, that's not your money. Yeah, sure, you have $10,000 accessible, but how are you going to pay it off?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is why we come to the examples of riba and how it harms society, is that it's the exploitation, not partnership, right? Um, Today, like the lender, like yourself and everyone, they think they're giving you a financial incentive, but rather it's, if you're coming with interest, it's going to be destructive, right? Because tomorrow, subhanallah, if things go wrong, you still have to pay that interest off, right? It's one thing paying off the loan, but it's another thing when the interest keeps growing. So now your loan plus the interest that's been accruing on you is becoming harder and harder. It causes trauma and depression, right? Think about the families that have working jobs, and one day, if they don't have the working jobs, if they don't have the income, everything falls down. It's with me, right? And I'm sure it's with you guys as well. If you don't have things paid off, right? For example, our biggest is a house right here. Chances are we're gonna lose the house, right? Because we're just following the interest-based system. Um, this is why it's good to have your things paid off. I 100% believe it's where you can avoid interest at all costs, and have things paid off, even if they're if they're old phones, old cars, but it gives you a peace of mind. Again, it creates a monopoly in society, and we see that so much. In COVID, it was not the rich people that were affected. Their salaries didn't go down. Their lifestyles didn't go down. Their savings did not go down. Instead, it increased phenomenally higher, significantly higher. But it was us, the middle class and the low class people, that actually got affected by it, right? So we were the one who were affected by it, because they increased they increased the loans, and people lost jobs, and so on and so forth, right? Very few companies actually look on for that. And this is where I want to kind of claim that how third world countries are still in debt and destruction because of the Western society and Western communities have set up. Um, Former president of Nigeria said that he borrowed about $5 billion in 1985, and what he had paid about $16 billion, yet we still owe about $28 billion. Just imagine that. A country who's been struggling and only borrowed $5 billion has already paid $16 billion, so $11 billion extra, and is still being told to pay $28 billion just because of interest. It is undoubtedly the worst thing in the world. In Pakistan, my country, the brick bondage is a good example of that. There is brick factories, kiln factories that take in poor families, loan them money, and they keep them on interest for not years, generations after generations. So interest, whether it's on the low class or on the high class, it destroys societies and families.
Sorry, can I ask a question, brother? I feel like you guys
Mhm.
are all from Canada over there, so I'm from the UK. But
Mm-hmm.
when we're talking about mortgages, we don't really have much in the terms of halal mortgages and stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even when you look into them, quite deeply, you can see there's something behind that. So they're not
Mhm.
all trustworthy. I mean, what's it like for you guys in Canada?
We unfortunately have the same system. We have mortgage system. We have the credit card system. I again cannot comment on the legality and if it's halal or haram to get a mortgage. There's multiple opinions on that. Some people have the necessity, right? They need a house, and some people believe in different decisions. They believe on living on rent. It's a case by case scenario. Not one decisioning or one fatwa might be applied to your case. That's a big topic, and I would highly ask you to consult with different scholars and Muslim leaders within your society. But yes, if you're talking about the system wise, it's absolutely the same in Canada as well.
Yeah, I do listen to Dr. Zakir Naik a lot, and to be honest, for me, if I have to listen to a scholar, I feel like he's the most
Mhm,
reputable. He has the most knowledge for me.
mhm,
Obviously, everyone each to their own. However, just even just getting the interest for your banks. Like again, I actually
mhm,
phoned up my bank today to find out how much interest I
mhm.
was getting. And you can't have a savings account without interest. It's very difficult to get. Current
Oh
account, yes,
yes,
but not.
yes.
I wanted to work out how much it was, and even with Dr. Zakir Naik, he said that even getting that interest, even if you're going to give it to charity, it's still going to be
Mhm,
haram. I don't really know another way around doing this because you can't exactly. Yeah, he's definitely my favorite scholar. I learned so
mhm.
much from him. Thank you,
I
brother.
Yeah, no
Um,
worries. I don't know if someone else wants to like pitch in about that, but again, like this presentation is just like a introduction to the finance in Islam. But finance in Islam itself is a big topic. This is why there's
Absolutely.
there's about to like PhD programs discussing about it because there's so much content into it.
There's
Um,
not enough out there like you're doing, brother, right now for us. So I live in London, but
mhm,
I don't get to hear many on finance. I watch a lot of webinars, but I've not heard many on finance.
mhm,
But if you could incorporate more, definitely it'd be really nice to, for people here as well to watch and
for sure.
listen.
For sure,
Appreciate
for
that,
sure.
brother.
Inshallah, maybe we'll keep in mind and we appreciate the feedback. We'll definitely keep in mind for our next topic. Maybe go
Inshallah.
into more detail with the finance. But yeah, that's kind of what interest is, and you know, let's move away from the interest now that we have understood what interest is and how destructive is society, and let's discuss adding barakah in our wealth. How do we get Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's barakah, and how do we amplify our wealth through Islamic means? And number one is earn a lawful and wholesome income, right? An income that comes from hard work, and generally, at the end of the day that whatever I've earned today, it's lawful, based on the knowledge and the research that I've done. Whoever you're working for, whatever company you're working for, their source of income, ensure that work is ethical and moral. Um, Number two is work with excellence, loyalty, and honesty. And there's a reason behind this. Prophet Muhammad SAW was the best amongst the people when he worked with anything and everything. During his business dealings, during his work with for the dawah, during his work for building charities, he worked with very honesty and loyalty as much as he can. A lot of time, people today will try to cheat out people. They will try to find their devious ways to see if they can earn their income. Generally, want to avoid that. Avoid interest in all its form as much as possible. As long as you have the intention and you have the fear of Allah, there's no saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inshallah give you barakah in your wealth. Number four is give charity, right, to both to yourself and your wife. That includes obligatory charities such as zakat, sadaqatul fitr, and the qurbani for those with sufficient wealth, but also charities you believe in, right? If you believe in building schools, give charity in that. It will not decrease your wealth. It will increase your wealth no matter what. Like the Rasulullah SAW said, charity does not reduce wealth. The physical amount outwardly decreases, yes, but the remaining amount attracts barakah. So the actual benefit from it is not less. Um, in my personal experience, I've seen it that sometimes I have less money, yet I have more things to buy. It's just barakah. And last one I really like is that be generous and give gifts. Give gifts to your family member, whether you have a husband or wife, to your kids, to your friends, right? Surprise them with gifts, to your parents. People will be happy in giving you dua as well. And if you make people happy, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will see that as well. So that kind of concludes our presentation for today. Oh, no, never mind. We have one more slide. So be God conscious and increase in piety. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, whoever is conscious of Allah, He makes them a way out of any difficulty and provides sustenance for them. And place your full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Know that Allah is providing for you, and do not worry constantly. And if you have fear, this is from the shaitan who tries to fulfill. And then last one is establish prayer, as-salah, in your home. So work to establish the obligatory prayers amongst your family and encourage extra nafil prayers as well. So I believe that concludes our event. Does anyone have any questions or concerns or any feedback, comments?
So, bro, I think what we can do is, this is round 3. You could end off the recording, and then, yeah, we can open up the